Yes. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum. At Veterans Minimum is where you can reach the show. At the Lamb Show is where you can reach me. And my guy is back. It's been a while. We've been chopping it up for about 10 minutes before we started recording. I had to get my guy Jay on because this last dance, bro, 5 and 6, heavy Nick bass, as you can see from the cap. What's good, brother? Welcome back, man.
Thanks for having me. Knicks, man. Of course, you knew it was coming for us. I was waiting for when. I know it. You probably heard this too, but there was a lot of leaks for everything, and everyone's seen almost like all 8 episodes. And I even got the leak, but I don't want to see it. I was like, I'll wait for the Nick part to surprise me, because like we know what's gonna happen, but it's just gonna play out a little bit more vividly.
Bro, not even that, dude. When if you go back to part 1 and 2, like the first 2 minutes of it, Pippin's dunking on you, and you're like, "Yo, what the fuck, man? I can't even get." Already, we just being violated.
Exactly, off the rip. But hey, that's what MJ did.
Yeah, man. This was where do you stand as far as like how you've been? How do you feel about this documentary so far? Like I've been asking everyone that I've had on because we're roughly the same age, right? You're like a year younger than me, I think, or 2 years younger.
Yeah, more or less,
But
I'm 91. So
yeah. Oh, you're 91?
yeah.
Oh, me too. Okay. So
Okay, same
yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, man. So like for us, right? And we're both big basketball fans, and especially ride or die with the Knicks. And we've always heard stories about MJ. And I remember a lot of the 90s teams, like the highlights, shit, they honor these 94 Knicks so much at the Garden that I forget that they didn't win.
right?
But how
Everything.
you feel about everything that you're seeing so far, man, with MJ? Because this is like the most exposure we've really gotten from Jordan and the Bulls.
It's true. Personally, I loved ball growing up. I was more baseball, but then basketball came a thing when I was later, and it was always a thing because my dad loved it. Big Nick fan. That's why I'm a Nick fan. But he hated Jordan, so like it makes me think like if we were our age now, then maybe even teenagers, because we were toddlers.
Pretty
Um,
much, yeah.
would we have this affinity for Jordan? Would we love him? Would we still call him the GOAT? Would we hate his guts? Would we still be rocking the kicks? I think that's a yes. But like, it's made me think. Like, we've always heard the stories. We know it's good. Like, we know the Knicks never won because of him. Those were our glory years. It really hasn't been good since 20 years plus, being almost irrelevant. Besides like Melo's, little arc of Knickerbocker. But I love it. It dropped at the right time. It was supposed to come out on June, but they pushed it earlier. Luckily, Bron put some fire behind that. He was like, "Yo, just let this rock." I'm glad he did that. Probably a few more people did the same. But it's just like perfect for us. It's like, and I like on Sunday nights. It's like everyone gets together and they're watching it. It feels like that. Especially now during COVID, you don't really chill with people like, or
Hmm.
you might. I don't no shame on that. But everyone's together. You're watching it. You're talking about it on Twitter. You're talking about it in your group chats. You talk about it the next day, like we're doing. So it gives us something to do, some semblance of normalcy. So I think it's perfect, and it's just good material.
Bro, the power of social media sometimes can be so dope, right? Everybody hit Twitter when all this happened and they canceled the NBA. Shit, they canceled the NBA on my birthday. That's when shit really hit the fan, March 11th.
I remember that game, man.
Yeah,
Next
yeah, man.
that W, that was the last game I saw, man. They beat the Hawks, and that's it.
Yeah, and I just remember because I work in the city. I'm a street vendor, and yo, literally the day after, bro, like half the business just went down because nobody was in the city. And I think it really took some shit like the NBA to be like, yo, let's fall back. This
Seriously.
shit is for real. And then that's when everything, it was a domino effect, bro.
Yeah.
Because yo, and I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. In the beginning, I was kind of like, man, this is just the flu. It's just because I didn't know nothing about it. And I feel like a lot of people were kind of like, it's all the way out there. Sure, some people are getting infected, but I'm not gonna front like I'm a doctor because I'm not. But I think when something like the NBA is like, yo, we're canceling, like it's postponed, and that's $1 billion industry.
Yeah. You
For
saw
them
it
to
in other
just
sports too. As soon as they did it, it's like chain reaction, like you said, domino effect. Rudy Gobert thing happens. Chris Paul's like, yo, I don't know. Good call by him, honestly, and like a lot of shade on Rudy for obviously he was not as mature handling things. But if he didn't do that, we might not be here. We might not have stopped everything. So like saving grace, double edged sword. But it's just wild times we're living in, and it's good we got this doc to help us out.
yeah, dude. And you brought up a good point before. How were you into Game of Thrones at all?
I was definitely.
So like, yo, this shit kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones in the sense where like, mad people are tuning in to one specific thing,
Yeah.
9 o'clock on Sunday, and all your boys and all the girls and family members are all just like, yo, we're watching this shit, and then you have like your group chat just shooting the shit. So it's been pretty cool that you got everyone that's a sports fan, and not even like I heard some of the numbers that this shit is getting. It's like playoff numbers
Yeah.
as far as ratings go.
It's crazy. The memes that come out of the content that they post, the memes that already live that they're just repurposing for specific moments within the docs. It's gold.
Yo, so let's talk a little bit about parts 5 and 6. For me, probably my favorite, and one of the reasons why is, spoiler if you guys haven't known, kind of a degenerate. So when they went full base, bro, on the gambling stuff, because it's always been like a folk tale, and you've always, especially like if you were into sports betting or if you just gambled on anything, you just always heard these stories about MJ. Like he was such a degenerate. Like you saw him doing the shit with the coins, and then that dude who's a meme now, he hit
Yo,
him with his own shit.
perfect. RIP to him. I heard he passed away.
Yeah, yeah. He
That
was
was
with the Bulls forever.
that's the meme I've seen the most today, honestly.
Yeah, dude. So he's doing that shit with the yeah. He hits him with his own shit. And you saw Jordan was tight. Jordan was like, "Damn, yo." But
It
yo,
speaks so much to like his a lot. Like I gotta agree. I think I enjoyed it the most out of the six so far. Not only because of the Knicks stuff, but like the Olympics was cool. Like Olympic sevens are probably one of my favorite Jays. That was cool seeing that, seeing him get the fits off, talking about the gambling with his boys in the back of the plane, gambling with his boys in the front of the plane, like, seeing the competitive drive and every facet. Even that Atlantic City story was just like it felt like a fable, like a tall tale. And then they break it down and you're just like, whoa. And then they break down what if it happened now, and it just like everything clicks and you're just like mind blown. Mind blown.
bro, we're definitely gonna be jumping around a lot because you just ran through so many things, and just like as we're going, because right now, I didn't really prepare anything. I just got my Twitter up, so I'm like, oh shit, I see some of the stuff that I was tweeting about. But I really want to talk about this AC story because my pops, when him and my mom first linked up, they used to go to AC all the time, and obviously they're playing the Knicks and whatnot. And he was telling me about how crazy the coverage was in New York about that story, but not so much like on a national level yet until days after. But dude, you always heard these stories about MJ, and yo, you think that shit happens nowadays, bro? Like if
It,
social media was around then with Michael Jordan just in between game 1 and 2, like, bro, you're a Giants fan, right?
yep.
We're still hearing shit about that fucking boat trip.
Yeah, exactly. So like you can only it blew my mind that it took 2 days for a story to come out when that couldn't happen today. It just
Mm.
wouldn't happen today. Someone would see it, a picture, a video. Um, Someone would have gotten whiff of it, but before he got to his hotel, So it's like, would the coaches have been calling him? Would management have been calling him? Like, and then he tells these tales like, oh, I was there on time. You can't really, you don't know if he was or was not because it's like everything wasn't as documented. But no chance that happens today.
Bro, there's stories about Lawrence Taylor when he used to play with the Giants, how Bill Parcells used to say, for me to get the best out of him, I gotta let him be crazy. Like that's the way he controls himself. So he's like, yo, all I would tell him is that, yo, team bus leaves at 10 on Sunday. It's like, I don't care what you do, bro.
Yeah.
closed eyes, closed ears, but you better be on that bus. And dude, it's something. How you feel about this one right here? It's something I always say, and I feel like it applies to a lot of things, and not just sports, but just in general, bro. Where even at like your place of work, right, or even students and shit, when you're in a classroom, people put up with your bullshit if you're talented. And I feel like some of the shit that we've seen with MJ, like, bro, he was a dick. Like, he was an asshole to a lot of people. And I do feel like greatness takes some pettiness too.
Right.
But I feel like people just dealt with it because is Michael Jordan, and he's winning all these rings, and he's the best player in the world and scoring titles and all that, doing it on both ends. So how you feel about that, where people just put up with your BS if you're talented?
It sucks sometimes. It's like, people get away with a lot of things when they have status or celebrity. When you talk about MJ, it's kind of like he's a different breed. He's one of one. So it's like even the few episodes beforehand where they get to pan in between the dynasty runs in the 90s and him coming up in the 80s, whether it was with Laney, UNC, early Jordan years with the Bulls. So it's like some of that stuff was new to me, and like even seeing the numbers he would put up, the dominance, the 50 plus with no threes. So like the build up to get to these episodes, you just see how nice he was and how good he was and why he's held on this pedestal, why people treat him a certain type of way, why his brand is so iconic and it keeps on living. That most times I tell you, I don't agree with that. People should get in trouble if they're, in the wrong. When it comes to MJ, I'm gonna say, screw it. He gets the pass because he's MJ, and that's just what it was then. It's kind of what it is now. Obviously, he's under a little bit of microscope. I think they even highlighted it with the politics. They dived into that for the first time, and that's something a lot of people spoke about. That I knew a little bit about it, but the fact that he spoke on it was good on him. Was good on the doc to cover. Makes for a good talking point now and for people on social. But like, I don't know if what he said was more of a cover up or if it's true, but at the same time, like, if you don't want to endorse someone, you don't got to. And if you're not endorsing anyone, it doesn't mean, you don't know what party they're for. You can make that assumption or guess. But I think MJ gets the pass forever.
Yo, that was another thing, how we always heard that bar, Republicans wear Jordans too,
Yo,
right?
I
And
heard that and I was like, yo, they're
yeah.
finally talking about it.
Yo, dude, it's crazy though, because the way he explained it, I kind of believe him. Where he was just like, yo, we were on the bus talking, BSing, and it kind of was just like a throw. Like, how many times you chilling with your boys, bro? You just say some dumb shit like in
Yeah,
passing, but there was a reporter there and they just jotted it down. Like, that
yeah,
just happens all the time. So a lot, like even shit, when I be streaming on Twitch, I'm sure I say some dumb shit. I'm just
right.
talking for hours. So something's gonna slip up. So that's what I felt like with Jordan in that sense. He kind of just like threw it out. But then on the flip side, he was really all about his business, bro, and his brand. And
It
he
was.
said it a lot, how he didn't want to get sidetracked with shit that he didn't know. And he's like, I let my play do the talking. And I feel like you got to respect that too.
You have to. It was the foundation for everything that he was and everything that he is. Even to this day, he's about his business. He's the owner. He got the sneaker lines. He's, got this team Jordan with Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic. So like, he's gonna keep living. The jump man's gonna keep living forever, just because of who he is and his values and stuff. So it's like, even though he's portrayed as like an asshole sometimes, maybe greedy, Republican, all these monikers and little terms, he's still MJ, and you see that he gets the pass for almost everything and anything.
Did you know all that stuff about his mom playing a role in Nike? Because that was new to me. I can't front.
That's I was gonna mention that next because that blew my mind, and I didn't even know he liked Adidas like that. But obviously, Adidas was kind of cool back then. Um, I just didn't, his mom was just like, yo, just take the meeting. And I guess it applies to everyone when they tell you, yo, just take the meeting, like
Right.
not take the deal, take the meeting and figure it out. And this is just another story where what was it? They were supposed to make $3 million the first year. They made 124. Like that's outrageous.
Bro, that got to be one of the best investments of all time, son.
I saw someone said Adidas are the Portland Trailblazers of the sneaker industry, and I just burst out laughing because they let MJ go. Like it's hard to fathom for even the imagine the people at Adidas watching that yesterday.
Yo, dude, you beat me to it, son. I was gonna say, bro, they have to be they've gotten the biggest L so far. Like I think Jerry Krause is holding the biggest L, and he still is. But like Adidas just kind of like came around the corner and is like, yo, tapping him on the shoulder, like, yo, I'm next. Because, dude, to just think about it, where they did bring up a good point though, where at the time it was Converse was like what I guess Jordan is now.
Right.
And Nike was still new. Like Phil Knight had just started that shit. It was known as like a track brand.
Yep.
And shout out to his agent thinking about that. Like, yo, I'm gonna market this dude as a tennis player, like a one-man show in a team's game. It was something very unique. Where like now, Kyrie got sneakers, Paul George got sneakers, Kawhi, like all that's normal to us now.
Yep.
Like, yo, you a star in the league, you're gonna have your own sneaker line, like 100%. Shit, when you play 2K, they give you a sneaker line.
Yeah.
Right. But like back in the day, that was like new territory. He set a precedent, bro. And to think that like, yo, the Jumpman brand has kind of like it's detached itself from Nike. It's still Nike, but it's like how you have like Kanye West, like he's he had signed with Rockefeller and shit, but it's like Kanye's like his own thing now.
Some people don't realize that, like what you just said, Jumpman feels like it's separated. Some people don't realize it's Nike, unless they see the Nike Air on the retro threes that drop.
Right.
It kind of feels like a Converse. Converse is part of Nike, but it's not. It's its own brand. But in all reality, they were always their own brand. Nike acquired them. Jordan Brand was always just a subsidiary of Nike.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, and Jumpman's, I can't say they're better than Nike, but it's like, god damn, they're pretty close. They rival.
Close, yeah. I feel you on that, dude. It was so wild to see how his mom like influenced that, and then how they were talking about Spike Lee, big, like probably the biggest Knicks fan out there, especially when you look at celebrity role. Like that dude has season tickets. He never misses games and shit. Samuel L. Jackson was actually trolling him. Was it 2 years ago at the Oscars? You remember that?
Yeah.
When he won an Oscar and he was like, "Hey, the Knicks even won tonight." So Knicks were like on an 18 games losing streak.
I would say, thinking about last night's show and just Knicks fans in general, I'm sure we all enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like reliving our glory days, even though we didn't get to win and we didn't win in that era when we should have probably won. I'm glad. I like seeing the jerseys. I like seeing Starks and Ewing and like small little details about just like all that fun times for the Knicks. It was pretty cool. And what makes me laugh too is like even the Knicks haters still getting their shots in, like tweets that I've seen range from, oh, remember when the Knicks had heart? And I'm like, yeah, what is ever, you get a few likes and retweets, but it's just like the Knicks are always a source of slander, I'll call it. So it's like we're always going to catch heat. It could be any day, any year. It's always going to tie back to it. So it was going to come with the doc, especially when the episodes are commemorated to us. And damn, we blew a 0-2 lead, huh?
Yeah, dude. But also, I think what the documentary does is show. You always hear, anyone who's anyone in the league always says that they love playing at MSG. And for people our generation that are like kind of casual fans, they might be like, yo, why the fuck do they want to play at the Garden? Like they win 20 games a year, if that.
Yeah.
But then you go and you look at the history of it, and man, for me watching that, I was just like, oh my God, what I would do to just not even go to a game because the tickets would be out the ass, but to be able to watch a playoff game where like it's not a playoff like you're the A seed and you're gonna get smacked. It's like, yo, they had a chance to win. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, bro. Because, like you said, we've had what, 2 good seasons in 20 years.
It's been a rough ride, man. But hey, it was cool to see why my dad is such a Nick fan, and because like he grew up on that stuff, and like like I said, he hated MJ. My first basketball memory, I think, was when the Bulls beat the Jazz, and my dad was pissed. He was screaming at the TV, and I was a kid, so I didn't understand. And I was just like messing with him because like I knew about MJ. I was young enough to know about MJ, had his sneakers and all that.
Yeah.
And my mom liked MJ, so like she was cheering for him. So it's just like, I was cheering for MJ, and he would get even more mad. It's just like, yo, you're supposed to be a Knicks fan. I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't know that. It's just like, this is Michael Jordan. He's the best thing that there is, best thing that there ever is, like at that point in time in the 90s. So like just getting this knowledge now and seeing it on video and on tape and hearing people reflect on it, it's just like, it's gold. Everything's gold. And I think everyone's really enjoying this.
And dude, I mean, we probably don't want to talk about it, but they even opened up the documentary yesterday with Kobe, and they're playing the All-Star game in the Garden. And just looking at that is just crazy. Again, another dude who loved to play at the Garden, LeBron, Curry, everybody likes to play at the Garden. So I think this documentary, despite it being, you blow a 2-0 lead, which if that shit was to happen now, it'd be a fucking disaster on Twitter. Like people would be cutting the Knicks ass, right? But you just go back and you look at it. I think it sets a good tone, and it tells the history of the league where, like, yo, even though the Knicks are incompetent and a lot of it has to do with ownership, that's still, that place is special to play in. And when it's rocking, dude, they played the Spurs this year, bro. It was like maybe the, I don't know, 9th or 10th game of the year, and they're down 30, and then they cut it to like 5. Yo, weren't you at that game too, bro?
I was going to say, I went to that game, bro. It's like, I was going to mention before we even kept going on this, that even when they win now, or they have some chance of winning with like a minute or two left, the Garden is rocking. And we suck, we're putting out Frank Ntilikina as your one. I love him, and I want to keep him too, but he's not your starting point guard. And the Knicks fans, they have an affinity for him. He's a fan favorite. They love him. Whenever he touches the ball, he does good. It's a circus in there. And that's Frank Ntilikina. Imagine MJ or Bron. Like, it would be tenfold. On top of it being 20 years since we've been good, I think the energy would be even that much more. But the fact that they got to touch on it and show it in the doc is, like you said, it's just a staple to why people call it the Mecca, or why they say they want to play here. It's not what it's been the past 20 years, but it has the moniker because of what it was before that.
Dude, they show Kobe, and they really hone in that first segment before the commercial, how there was, and he's alluded to it in the past too, how he's like, yo, let's just appreciate greatness and not really talk about like the rings, because like I wouldn't have my 5 if it wasn't for Mike, and like appreciate LeBron's 3 rings. Like, yo, it's hard to win a title, bro. Like when I was younger, man, I think that's, if I could describe the one thing that's changed for me as I've gotten older as a sports fan, is the rings argument. Like, it's hard to win a championship because so much gotta go right. Like, dude, I could be the best player in the league, but if my Robin gets hurt, like I'm asked out, right? Like Kyrie and Kevin Love in the finals, they weren't there, and LeBron had to go up against that Warriors team. And then, on the flip side, last year, what if Kawhi, Siakam would have got hurt or some shit? Like, yo, it's not only you got to take care of your own, but you need, like, physically, you need everything. You need a good ownership, a good GM, a good coach.
Yep.
But I think this is also showing the greatness of MJ and even like Phil Jackson, to be able to manage all these personalities, and Rodman being like, yo, I just want to get some rebounds and go to Vegas, right? Like Pippen's like the lockdown defender, and he could get his buckets too. but I think what this documentary is really showing is that, bro, it's hard to win a title, man. You need players to be healthy at the right time. You need the ball to bounce your way too. It's better to be lucky than good.
Yep.
Often that's said. So for me, man, I think that's the one thing that's changed for me. And you see that with Kobe, where he's like, yo, like, shit, I kind of owe my success to Mike, because his intensity and his like desire to win, and his like, and they show it throughout the documentary, like, yo, we're not gonna win with Collins. Like, sure, it's cool, but I need someone like Phil Jackson. And Phil Jackson comes in and tells him, like, yo, you want to drop 38 a game? You could. Like, do you want to win? You want to be just another scorer? Like, how many scorers have there been in the league and never won a championship? But that,
It's the Kobe part definitely like. I'd say growing up, I didn't like Kobe because there were a lot of Laker fans on the East Coast. So I was like, why? Like, like we're not that good, and they're pretty good. Like, all right, I understand you could hit your ride to Kobe and Shaq, that 1-2 punch, his 5 rings. But like after the fact, as I matured and I liked ball a little bit better, became a Kobe fan. Like had him on fantasy ball plenty of times, might have won
yep,
tip. So like all these different things, 81-point game, like starts making you a fan. Like like all these figures. Same with MJ. People probably hated him. They loved him after the fact. Same with Kobe. Probably same with LeBron when it's all said and done with him. But seeing that piece, I know a lot of people had to get emotional. Just like it's just a wound. It's opened up again, and you're like, wow, that really happened a few months ago, like right before the pandemic and everything. And just seeing him speak on it, something that I'll say surprised me that I didn't know too well was how personal they were with each other. Like I
right,
didn't really realize that it was a really big bro, little bro thing. Like it kind of was portrayed as they were bros, but like not super cool.
yeah,
But even in the doc, he was just like, "Oh yeah," he even told me, "Here's my number and call me." After he told him how to do his fadeaway, so it's like they always had it. And I might not have been in this doc, but I think it was MJ speaking on Kobe, just pestering him about his moves and his game, and it's like that's all behind the scenes stuff. Like we're seeing now, a lot of stuff is behind the scenes
mm,
that we don't know about, that we won't know about. And obviously we won't know more now because Kobe can't speak on it. Rest in peace to him. But that hit different, man. It's like seeing him as a youngin go against MJ, then seeing him reflecting on it. Because they've had a lot of this stuff in the vault for a while. So it makes me even think, when did Kobe reflect on this stuff? It might have been a few years back, but thankfully we got it, you know? It was wild seeing that, and just seeing how close their game is. It's like you'll never see,
yeah,
like Bron came up and he's been chasing MJ, but Kobe did it differently. He was chasing MJ literally like he was like him. Bron's
yeah, yeah,
doing it in a different capacity. He's doing it in his own way, and like he doesn't have the fadeaways or like the killer instinct people always harp on him for not having. Kobe definitely had that. Kobe had the intangibles, the work ethic, everything that MJ did. So the fact that they opened up with that was a super soft spot for everyone. And it was well spoken about. Little Laker boy had me dying too, I gotta say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Cause yo, I think the cool thing about that is like that's some shit you would say with your boys when you're playing pickup at the park. Like, yo, look at this kid in that jersey, man. We gotta watch him.
Yeah.
Right? Or like you just know that dude from the neighborhood that comes and plays ball, and it's like, yo, don't sleep on him because like his shoes are all crusty, like he can hoop. I want to also bring up the I mean, we got to bring up the dream team, right? Greatest team ever assembled. And I forgot about it. I knew about it, but I forgot that was the first time that they sent the NBA dudes there.
So I knew about that too, but I forgot as well. I didn't, it makes me want to see what the roster was, the Olympics beforehand, because it's probably
Right.
nobody's like college dudes and stuff. But yeah, like those Olympic sevens, beautiful. I have a pair, love those. I remember getting them as a kid. Like, just it's cool to see that colorway and that even the story leading up to them opening that segment was MJ didn't want to do it. He just came off a ring. He was like, who's going to be there? Why am I
Yeah.
going out there? If this dude plays me more than 10 minutes, I'm going to quit, you know? And it ended up becoming like this whole story of a bromance, you know? Like there's different pieces. There's Isaiah Thomas. There's that one practice that they mentioned. There's Tony Kukoc. I was thinking about Tony Kukoc for the last 4 episodes,
Oh,
honestly, bro.
yeah.
Yo, where's Kukoc? What, like, why is Steve Kerr on the front of the title card and not Kukoc? Kukoc is way more important. He finally shows up in this episode. They were saving it for when they covered, obviously, the Olympics. But it was cool to see him there, him speaking on it, how they treated him. I didn't know they played twice. So that was cool too, like
Same.
seeing how they dominated him and for what reasons they dominated him. And the fact that Mike and Pip were like, yo, me and MJ only are gonna guard Tony. And they did the damn thing. And even the second game, they won by not as convincing a margin as the first one. I think they won by 30 in the first one. But Tony had a good game, and like I guess that's when they finally got the respect for him.
Right.
And it was cool seeing
Exactly.
his side too. When he was like, "Yo, they don't even know me, and they're just mad because Kraus wants me to be the next guy, be the replacement. Like I didn't choose that for myself. He did when he drafted me with the second round pick at that.
Right.
So
It wasn't even a lottery.
these superstars were, I wouldn't say intimidated, but they were so riled up by a second round pick, and it was because of Jerry's fault. That they treated him a certain way and they just locked him down. Like, and even thinking about it now, if they didn't put that fear in them that first game, maybe it might have been an even tighter second game for the championship. But just seeing all those legends, and I kind of want your thoughts on Isaiah Thomas, knowing that he was a former Knick. Obviously, the way he didn't do us too right when he was managing us.
Right.
But it kind of escapes me too about how great he was and how good of a point guard he is, and it just made me think about all the point guards and why he got left off that team. It was obviously politics, internal politics, because they pointed out a few people didn't like him. It was Bird, Magic, MJ. Like they just had their troubles and their run-ins with him. And looking back on it, like he deserved it. I think everyone agrees that he deserved it. Sometimes if that's gonna mess up with like the feng shui or like however the team is going, can't have that kind of character on your team, even though he's, thinking back on it, top 3 point guard all time, top 5 point guard all time, belongs there. And that became a huge meme, I think, when he was like, I fit the criteria.
Yeah.
You choose me.
That's like the story of everyone's life, bro.
Everyone's life came up just short. But it's hard
dude,
to believe for him. It's just so hard to believe.
But yo, think about it, man. And this is actually perfect that you're on now. You're a soccer fan.
Facts.
How many times do you hear these stories about international teams where you're like, yo, how the fuck did this guy get left off the team? And then you hear about the politics. Like, there's always the rumors about Messi, like the Messi clique in Argentina.
Yeah.
And then the 1 year, there was that one Spain roster. And look, ultimately they ended up winning either the Euro Cup or the World Cup. But bro, like 10 of the 11 players were from Barcelona and Madrid.
Yep.
Right. So it's like you always heard these politics. So I think I was feeling very sympathetic for Isaiah Thomas, bro, until they showed him just being a dick to like Larry Bird and to Magic and to Barkley. So then that got me thinking like, yo, bro, how many people do you know that are even like even some of your boys? Like, I fuck with you, you're my guy, but I don't want to go on a vacation with you. And that's how I feel like that was with Isaiah Thomas, because they knew they were going to go there and just beat the shit out of people by like 50, right? But they're also saying like, yo, you know what? Like MJ said, don't play me over 10 minutes. I'm going to Barcelona. I'm going to chill, right? I'm going to spread the word on my brand. That really helped the evolution of international basketball. And they probably just all said to themselves like, yo, do we really want to spend the 2 weeks with this dude? Like, I'm good, fam. We could win without him. Did he deserve it? Absolutely. Like, to me, that's not debatable. Like, did he deserve to be on the team? That's not debatable. Now,
Yeah.
did they do him wrong as far as like the politics behind the scenes? That's debatable. But for me, I just think it ultimately came down to that, bro. Like, I'm sure there's some people and even people listening to this where it's like, yo, that's my guy. He'll come to my birthday parties. I'll go to his crib. We'll play 2K. We'll play Xbox. But like, spending 2 weeks with you, I don't know. So
Yeah.
that's what I think that ultimately was.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And they won. So like it didn't really matter that he wasn't there. Um but yeah, even those Pistons teams, like this is a fun one, and I want you to think about it. I saw it and I couldn't come to a final decision, but those that Knicks team that
Mm,
lost the Bulls and those Pistons teams, those are some gully dudes. Those are some gritty
yeah,
dudes. Like who's winning in the fight?
man. I do think that I think the Knicks they had Oak, they had Mason, but I
Hmm.
think top to bottom the Pistons were more like badass.
Yeah,
Like Stark stood up for himself, Ewing stood up for himself, but if I was to just do like a blind resume of the whole roster, bro, like I would pick more guys. I'd pick more guys on the Pistons to be in a street fight with than with the Knicks. Like
yeah.
maybe the Knicks top two is better. Like, yo, I want to be in a foxhole with them too. But like complete roster, I think it's like even Isaiah Thomas was petty too. And
Yeah,
and he was like their offensive scorer. He had like 55 in the finals against the Lakers and shit. So I would go with the Pistons being more. They were the bad boys. Like the Knicks aren't called the bad boys.
yeah, that too.
So I would lean with that.
Yeah,
Man, this Kukoc thing though, I think it was dope how I felt like that was the beginning of the Euro surge. Like shortly after the Kukoc success, right? Like he played into the 90s with the Bulls and he won titles and he was a key cog to their success, like you mentioned. I think that kind of opened up the door to the idea of bringing a Euro in. And then not long after that, you have Dirk,
yep.
right? And now it's like, shit, Luca, KP, like you have all these Euro guys. Like even Giannis is, he didn't play college basketball here. He's from Greece. So I feel like the Kukoc success kind of opens up the door to like I know you had Vlade also, and I'm missing some guys, but for the most part, I think he played a big role in that, man, and I feel like he deserves more credit than he's getting.
I think so too, and obviously it's getting deeper into the dock, so I think we might see him more because he was probably part of that second half of titles
Yeah.
as opposed to the first one. So like I think they'll do it more now that they finally introduced him. But yeah, I agree with you. But on another side of that, like you think of your Frederick Weisses. Like the Knicks ended up taking him over like what Vince and a few other people. So like I think you're right though. It gave people the confidence to be like, hey, he could be Tony. Why not?
Yeah.
It just kept on going, and the league just kept transforming. I feel like that definitely helped with basketball without borders and just growing the game, like you mentioned. MJ and the Dream Team had a huge influence on
Dude, he won Six Man of the Year in 96. He was on the Bulls from 93 to 2000, as I have it here in front of me.
that. Okay.
So, yeah, he was on that 3P team. So it goes back to Jerry Krause, bro. I think he's like the ultimate wrestling heel in this whole doc. Even when they win that second ring and they beat the oh my god, how am I forget? Oh, they beat the Blazers.
Blazers, yeah.
That's what I wanted to talk about too. Because when they show Clyde Drexler after he hits those
That
like
was so funny.
bro, I've seen that look. I've seen that look on myself when like I play flag football on Sundays, and like there's this one team, man, they got all D1 athletes all over the board. And like we're just a bunch of dudes that played high school football and shit, and you know, we have like no brothers on the team. We're like a hockey team playing football. And we're fucking over there, and I'm just like, damn, so we can't beat these guys. And Clyde had that look, and I tweeted about it. I was like, Clyde's face just screamed, I want nothing to do with this man. And,
Yo,
and it was again some of those Jordan stories that you hear. Like, I'm loving 98 where it's supposed to be current and then them going back and forth. I'm loving that. Are you enjoying that?
I enjoy that a lot. I know a lot. I've heard from a few people that were just like, why are they doing that? This didn't have to be 10 episodes. It could have been 4. And I'm just like, did you want less? I didn't want less. Like, I
Hell
want
no.
more. Like, I want concrete examples and I want in-depth stuff. Like, 10 is perfect. And I like that they go back and forth. Like I mentioned earlier, like you get more context as to who MJ was, why he was the man, and why during this run of 6 championships, he was in his prime and he was the man and he finally got strong and, you know, all this stuff. Like it's different episodes that add up to the culmination, which will be 9 and 10. So we got another 2 weeks of this. But yeah, I totally agree.
Clyde was the guy that everyone was comparing to MJ, like them two are on the same level playing field. And again, man, Jordan just did not want to hear that, no matter what it was. And even going back to his gambling tales too, like he wanted to compete. He had that quote where he's like, I don't have a gambling problem. I have a competition, a competitive problem. It's like, dude, I've been looking for that answer for 29 years, bro. Thank you. You just gave me that one. But
I heard that too, and I was just like, yo, like we spoke on earlier, like even he gets away with that. That's short little few words, but it's a perfect cop out because I'm MJ. I'm just too competitive. I don't have an addiction to gambling. I'm just too competitive.
Like, yeah. And then like they showed the clip a couple of episodes back, him and Danny Ainge, which as the documentary goes on, he's like one of MJ's boys, I would say. Because like they go golfing together and they talked a lot. And you know, he told tell DJ I'm gonna have something for him, Dennis Johnson, right? And then he drops like 60. And then fast forward, going back to the jump cutting, and you're right, I think it sets up everything that we're seeing about MJ, how all those moments in the past explain to you why he is who he is. And he tells Magic Johnson when he's working with NBC, and he's like, yo, bro, he's not like, watch what's gonna happen. And at the time, he hit 5 threes and a half, which was an NBA record. And then Clyde just had that look like, yeah, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. That's funny, too, because I think they showed him when he was on, I guess when they played the Suns in the finals, no?
Yeah.
So Danny again. I remember seeing him again. Yeah, okay. That's hilarious.
And that was another one, too, man, where I saw Barkley was trending, and a lot of people, they look at Charles Barkley as, you know, if you're under 20, bro, like, shit, I feel like an old head saying that now. But if you're like that generation, the under 20s or the kids that just went to college, you know Barkley as a TNT guy.
Yep, personality. Dude that eats donuts and just cracks jokes. I was going to jump into that, too, because even seeing that, like I've known Barkley, I've read his books when I was younger too. Like he was just personality, even when he was a player.
Yeah.
But when Draymond said what he said recently, and then seeing what Chuck was doing in the doc, even though it was like a little bit, but like Dream Team, finals, how he was so close,
MVP, bro,
putting up, like yo, Draymond could never.
Yeah.
Never. So it's like you need something like this, and how timely is it that he spoke on it a few weeks before? You know, like he might not have mentioned anything after seeing the short snips of Chuck and MJ and yesterday's, you know, doc. But it's like it made me think of that instantly, and that became Twitter topics that I saw on my timeline. Like Draymond got some audacity. How could he? Like, do you think he could even play in that era? Like, the answer's no, man. Even when he said it, I was just like, come on, man. Like, you know, and I get why he said what he said, or like why he came out on Old Smoke like that with the homies. But still, it's just like, that's Chuck.
And dude, like, he's never been an MVP candidate, Draymond, and Barkley won that.
Yo.
And that was another thing that Jordan talked about. Like, man, I love Chuck, but he was not the MVP. And then he always took that shit personal. He talked about Dan Marley, where Jerry Krause thought he was an excellent defender, and he's like, I'm gonna show you. But like the worst thing that could happen to you, bro, back in the '90s was getting a cosign from Kraus. Because if MJ heard that, it was a
Yep.
wrap.
It was a wrap. That's hilarious. It's true.
But yo, last thing I kind of want to end on, bro, because we're running a little bit over how long I asked you to be on, but I appreciate
Oh,
it.
anytime.
He it goes full circle to when they play the Lakers in that first finals, where he passes the ball. Well, he doesn't ultimately pass the ball, but he drives, passes it to Grant. Grant passes it to Paxson, and like there's a little snippet, a mad quick like visual of, I think it might be Ainge, but it might be Marley, but I'm pretty sure it's Ainge, where he kind of like when they just show the shot and he kind of just,
I
because
think
like Paxson was wide open. And
yeah.
also, I don't know if you caught this, but I just started clapping by myself in my room. That was the first field goal that anyone made in that game in Phoenix in the fourth quarter. That wasn't MJ.
Oh my God. No, I didn't even realize that.
Yo, think about how cold blooded you got to be if you're Paxson too, son. You haven't touched the ball in God knows how long. For you to just come off and just hit, like, he was a killer, Paxson, man. Paxson and Kerr were savages, just
Deadly.
gunning from three.
I didn't peep that, but it's so true. Like, and it speaks to what we mentioned earlier. Like when Phil came, he's like, "Yo, do you want to get buckets or you want to win and get buckets in the process?" You know, like because he still had to have those games throughout, his career where he didn't get that help from Scotty. Like they covered when Scotty got injured or
The migraine game.
he had the surgery early,
Yep.
the migraine game. Like even seeing these stat lines of Rodman putting up 20 boards, you're just like, all right, he did that. That's pretty amazing. But damn, MJ had to score 50 for them to win with Rodman's 20 boards. So it's crazy to see, like we said, just a multifaceted story of Michael Jordan's career.
Lasting thought on parts 5 and 6, my guy.
I'm gonna say it's my favorite. My favorite
Yeah,
so far, for sure.
same.
It just had like a little bit of everything that I enjoyed, things that I didn't know, things that I knew a little bit about, and it just confirmed and brushed up on it. But it was perfect. Like the reactions, I'm a social media guy overall. Um, I just love seeing all the memes during and after, and it's just like these things are gonna live forever. Like I got you last thing of 5 and 6 is
Yep.
shout out to homie. R.I.P.
Yeah. For real, man. For me, I was hoping they were gonna dive into the gambling stuff, bro, because I just feel like you can't tell the MJ story without it. You can't tell the MJ story without his relationship with his pops.
Yeah.
Just everything, and it's so important to
I
his
wonder
whole.
if they're gonna talk about that, bro. Like the gambling, like if it's gonna be his dad's death. Is it gonna be related to gambling? I doubt they
Yeah.
do. Like maybe they can come back to that because there's 4 episodes left, so there's opportunity. But I think if they do, it kind of confirms it. So they probably won't.
Well, I do think that's the one thing just moving forward, hoping to see a little bit more of, because they kind of left us off there where they could go back to it, because they kind of hinted at it, and not hinted at it, but I did some research on this. He retired like in September that year. So it wasn't like after the season ended, he was like, yo, I'm out. It was like a weighted decision. So
Yeah.
it was really close to the not Andrew Luck, like he had retired 2 weeks before the season started, but it was within like a month. So that definitely had to send all of Chicago and the NBA just spiraling out of control. And then, our Knicks ended up going to the finals that next year. They were probably all the Knicks fans. And I mean, shit, that's probably how the Raptors felt, right? Like
Yeah,
if you were a
exactly.
Raptors fan and LeBron left and you got Kawhi, you're like, yo, okay.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
That's
That's true.
exactly how the Knicks felt. So I think they're gonna be able to go. They're gonna be able to go back to this because they're gonna dive into the baseball stuff, and there's so many different conspiracies, which we'll say for if they introduce any of them. But man, Jay, it was a pleasure, my brother. Thank you also, man. I appreciate the love that you always send just randomly, just random hit ups, random tweet replies.
Always, my God. Big fan of Vets Minimum. I'm glad I jumped on the pod that one day. It was random as hell, but I brought my way out to Queens. I really didn't know anybody. Chemistry was there off the rip. So when my guy asked me this morning, he was like, "Yo, could you hold me down?" I was like, "I got you." So love is love, bro, for
Yes,
sure.
sir. Yes, sir. Tell them where they can find you, man. If there's anything you want to plug, anything you're working on, you mentioned something about social media. Take it away.
Word. I mean, I'm that guy, JT, on all platforms, Twitter, Instagram. Nothing personal to promote right now, but all I'll say, just wash your hands, stay safe, show love to your family and friends. Um, keep tapping into Nick and Vets Minimum, bro.
My guy, I appreciate it. And as far as I go, guys, at the Lamb Shows where you can find me at Veterans Minimum, and be on the lookout. I got a very special guest coming on this week, talk some UFC and some NFL. So stay tuned, and we'll catch you guys next time.
You're ready.